Yes, everyone. I'm your soul brother Talib. Yes, this is not really a rant video, but I just want to make this video kind of quick. However, anyway, because I need to get some rest and get ready for a whole entire another day tomorrow morning. But however, I would like to address some things in this video that's becoming, more uncontrollably alarming every day across this nation that we're living in, you know, concerning this criminal justice system and, being a so-called black American, you know, and knowing how, the deck gets stacked against us when it comes to this so-called racist criminal justice system and penal system in this country, which of course originated with slavery parallelly and intertwiningly, you know, according to the foundation of this country, you know. I must say that this country definitely, you know, it needs more revamping, more than just to be revamped as far as the system go. Because when you see people in jail for certain crimes, like selling weed, a couple $10 crack cocaine rocks, or a couple of packages of heroin that ain't cost nothing but $20 or $40, but yet the rest of their life is thrown away to the system because of this, especially in certain states like in the South, like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, you know, and stuff like that, you know, and people are, sitting the rest of their life away in prison over these type of crimes, which is not even high class graded felonies either, and then you get people that murder people, and after about 5 years or 10 years, they right back on the streets on parole, or some sex offender who'd have molested a little 7 or 13-year-old child get the chance to see freedom again, and stuff like that. I have to say that I take issue with that, and this is the reason why, the platform I speak from, which is Operation Exodus Mississippi, is why we keep emphasizing perpetually on the importance of us as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America taking control over a state like Mississippi so that we can, be able to effectively deal with those type of issues that's facing the so-called Black American community throughout the United States. And we really need to do that, to quarantine ourselves so that we can be able to have our children and women in a much more protected environment from that, you know. But like I said, that would address those type of situations, especially with the overall situation of the so-called criminal justice system, which we know to be highly racist in this country, and the proportionate most that are being incarcerated, of course, are those who are dark-skinned descendants of slaves born here in America, and well as other so-called brown people that are not European or European descent. And I mean, it's definitely a sad situation that's going on. And this is why I say that we don't need to depend on the government, which is definitely not going to do nothing about it. We need to, take that, destiny into our own hands and, like I say, take control of a state like Mississippi and, address that problem more effectively and have more freedom of space to be able to address that problem without, any obstacles in our way, you know. And this is why we keep on, urging people to get involved with the Operation Exodus Mississippi campaign, and particularly those of us who are dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America, because it will benefit you as 44 plus million. Those of you, who get tired of, being oppressed racially and otherwise, as far as dealing with just the stressful life of what it is to be black anywhere else in America, and you'll have a place in Mississippi to come to get away from that, And this is what this is all about, And this is why, I'm making this video to point out that the criminal justice system in this country is definitely having an impact daily, And I want to also mention too, those who recently voted, and I'm talking about as well as those blacks in the South who voted for Joe Biden, who is the former vice president under Barack Obama, who voted on that so-called Super Tuesday election day last week, in places like Georgia, no, Alabama, I believe also Mississippi and Texas and, in southern states like that, including the other southern states like South Carolina and stuff, and they voted for Joe Biden, But see, Joe Biden, people forget, he was the one that signed that 1994 Crime Reform Act into law under Bill Clinton's administration. And that law ever since then has affected many, many thousands upon thousands of families, of black and brown families and individuals throughout this country. And he still has not to this day, owned up to it in any type of accountable way. And even when it's been brought to his attention, he still would not even acknowledge it, nor stand to be held accountable for it, So, I mean, if you gonna vote for somebody else to be president beside Donald Trump, I definitely wouldn't suggest that Joe Biden be the ideal, of voting somebody into the White House to take Donald Trump's place. I mean, I just want to put that out there too, because he is definitely a part of that, clique that helped to form that crime bill and sign it into law, and like I said, many black families have been destroyed forever because of that, especially with the individuals whose lives was, affected systematically because of that to this very day. So, like I said, and that law was definitely designed to directly affect the proportionate black and brown population in this country, and none other than that. So For those of you, like I said, that's voting, you know, don't forget that and be aware of that fact. Because it's going to be brought up as long as this presidential campaign going on. That's going to be brought up. So I just wanted to throw that out there and give y'all a warning that, you know, it would not be a wise, you know, ideal to help vote Joe Biden into office. You know, because he'll get in there and he'll help, you know, make worse laws, you know, that'll be definitely impossible to probably undo, you know. So, you know, like I said before, you know, we have to understand what type of situation we're in when it comes to this criminal justice system in this country, and to understand that we are very much, you know, up against a lot, you know. And when we are, you know, accepting, you know, this media stereotype of other black people or black and brown people in this country, you know, as being nothing but criminals that just need to be put away. And, you know, this is where, you know, you get a conflict of interest going, because a lot of them are in prison and shouldn't even be in there because of crimes they did not commit either, or because they got stereotyped for someone else that fit their, you know, physical profile, you know, and so now they sitting in prison just because the racists had to lock somebody up for the crime, instead of going through the proper channels to do what they had to do to get justice for, you know, crimes that were committed. You know, so they just lock anybody up that look dark skinned, especially if they are dark skinned descendants of slaves born in America. Just like we saw with Khalif Browder, I think, if I'm pronouncing his name right, who had to sit in New York City's, you know, infamous Rikers Island for 3 years over a crime he did not commit, and languishing there to the point where it drove him, you know, psychologically insane, and which even led to his suicide even after he got out of there, you know. So, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, and this is, and there was other people just like him who went through the same thing in famous Rikers Island in New York, you know. And like I said before, this is going on not just in New York City, but throughout the whole entire country, especially when it comes to us, you know, as a people. So we have to understand, as dark-skinned descendants of slaves and born in America, particularly, that these laws that's been made and aimed at us, you know, is aimed to tear us down, you know, individually and as a community in general, you know. And, you know, this is why we have to make proper choices before we, you know, end up standing before these judges, or especially racist judges, in these courtrooms throughout the United States. We have to, you know, choose and pick wise choices to make, you know, because once you get caught up in the system, that's a wrap. It ain't about what you did or what you was charged for. Now they got you in there, and, you know, now you got to worry about the system really, you know, putting the last damage and touching effects on you, you know, that will, you know, more than likely destroy you for the rest of your life. Like a Khalifa, you know, Browder, you know. And there's a lot of brothers and sisters who get out of them jails and prisons after doing countless years or decades, and they just ain't the same mentally. I'm talking about, as well as physically. They just ain't the same. They're just destroyed completely, and it affects everyone around them, especially their families or people that knew them, or whatever. But everybody in the community it affects. So this is where you get, crimes being repeated by the same offenders and all this other kind of crap, and like I said, it's not fair, of course, but I want to just say this too, because I just want you to know that I acknowledge the unfairness in the system. That's why I'm speaking on this. But my main point as well is that I do have a rift with people who go to jail or when they get caught for things like child molestation, for raping someone, even if it's especially a woman or some, or robbing somebody, or carjacking somebody, or harming an elderly person, especially if they fatally did something to an elderly person, and they don't even do that much time, and they right back out on the streets. I have a problem with that. And like someone said, once we could take control of a state like Mississippi, we would be able to more effectively address that. Unlike how the racists apparently address stuff like that, throughout the rest of society, especially when it comes to black people, And because our elderly are not protected, our children and women are not protected. And so when we get them kind of crimes that goes on in our communities and people are not really being held accountable for it, only if it's a select certain type of crime, which turns out a lot of times to be lesser or, heinous crimes or felony crimes or even misdemeanor crimes, and stuff like that. People end up doing more time than somebody, like I said, that molested a 13-year-old child or something, or a 7-year-old child. And like I said, I take issues with that. Because when you molest someone, especially after you done took their virginity away from them and stuff like that, you might as well say you just killed them. That type of crime might as well just be branded just as much as a dangerous assault of crime like murder. That crime needs to actually be treated like murder. And this is what I'm saying. And this is why I say that because America's not like certain other countries, like especially in Asia and the Middle East, where people will get their heads chopped off in public or hung in public because of such type of crimes, or even be put in front of a firing squad and killed by them, this is why we as black people need to take our own destiny in our own hands if we really want to protect ourselves and our communities, because it's no such thing as true justice in the so-called American criminal justice system. And, I must also say that, if we could ever deal with situations in a more faster way by just putting somebody to death for killing, or raping someone, then we wouldn't have to worry about feeding them for the next 2 or 3 decades, or taking care of them while they're in prison for the 2 or 3 or 4 next decades, because they'll be dead and gone. And that means then that taxpayers' money could go to something else much more better, worthwhile, than taking care of some scumbags like that, because they're not really being held accountable. This is why you have a lot of sex predators and known sex predators and sex registered sex offenders walking the streets and throughout our communities every day because they not actually really being held accountable for this. Why you got people sitting in prison like in states like Louisiana doing 25 to life over a $20 bag of weed, but you got suckers like this walking the streets and sometimes don't even do a day in jail at all, especially if they skin is pink, you know. So like I said before, we need to really, evaluate this situation if we really want true justice for ourselves as black people. And I'm even talking about those who have been victimized, not just by racists, but by other black people and whoever else, and that are victims of family members that may have been, killed or whatever, or robbed, or some that still hasn't gotten justice, you know. I mean, so like I said before, we need to really be mindful of that this government in this country, the same government who did not do nothing about those that lynched and mutilated the body of Emmett Till, or that, lynched thousands upon thousands of black people throughout the South back in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and they families still to this day haven't got no justices for them crimes, or got any type of justice or even compensation that I know of for them crimes. I mean, we need to understand that this same government is not going to, be just with us even in this generation as well, as you can see with the latest, police brutality, shootings in black communities that's been going on that, no one has been criminally held accountable for hardly, So like I said, we need to understand the times that we're in and, as someone would say, and what must be done. And what must be done is we need to take control of our own destiny by taking control of a state like Mississippi to actually, be able to deal with these problems on our own to where we could, have a more effective solution than, the situation that we're in now as a people. And particularly I'm referring to those of us that are dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America. And with that said, I would like to, close out this video. And for those of you that's going to be watching this video, I give shout outs to as well. And with that said, peace.